Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. We got a new build to do today and this one's expensive. As with all of our system builds, we're starting out by putting in the motherboard first because everything in the computer connects back to that in some form or another. This enables us to start doing the cable tidying and the cable planning from the very beginning. This particular board that's going in is a Gigabyte Z270x Gaming 9. It's a monster motherboard with so many PCI Express lanes you won't even believe, along with enough LEDs to keep a small town illuminated. So this case is a NZXT Phantom 820 and it's enormous, it's obnoxiously large. I've seen bigger because I've seen a Cooler Master Cosmo S, and the Cosmo S is hilarious. It's just, I could live in a Cosmo S. But this is still a huge case. But at the moment everything is just amplified with it because despite how huge this case is, it's still filled with drive bays, so it just seems larger. Now, I make no secret that I'm not a fan of big cases, and this is no exception, to be honest. However, I will concede that if you need to do a large build with a lot of drives and fancy water cooling and all the rest of it, I'm sure as hell not going to be short on space, which is something that I have actually seen in computers that I've worked on, where I've legitimately had not enough room to fit in water cooling and stuff like that. It does happen. The cooler we're going to be fitting to this computer is a Cooler Master Hydro H115i, which is basically just a bigger version of the H100i that you see in a lot of computers. It's got two 140mm fans on it, making it a 280mm radiator. So first, we test to see how it's going to fit in the case, then we get all the fans mounted on it first to make sure all the cables are in a nice alignment. And underneath that pump head goes an Intel i7 7600K. Keeping with our mantra of installing the bulkiest items first, we're now putting in the power supply, which is an EVGA 850 watt Supernova Platinum. Now, apologies for the stuttery video on this section, but my first impressions of this unit were so impressive I really didn't want to cut this bit out. I'm halfway through building this monster computer and this power supply looks so unassuming, but I've just unboxed it and I'm like, wow, look at you, you are very pretty. So good grief. So firstly, let's just quickly take a look. So 850 watts, we have a single 70 amp 12 volt rail. Good grief. This thing is a cannon. And if we look on the back, fully modular, we've got an economy on off switch. No idea what that does yet. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. But good grief. It's heavy, it's high quality, it feels beefy, this thing. Very, very pretty power supply. I'm just going to drop this into place. It's surprisingly compact for such a high wattage power supply as well. The closest thing I have to this is my Antec kilowatt power supply, which, as anyone who watches my repair videos knows, is probably about that long. You know, it's a huge thing. Whereas this is actually surprisingly compact for the amount of watts that it kicks out. Right, I'm routinely mocked for mounting my power supplies upside down in computers. In this instance, I've got it the right way up, which is fan down. And the reason why I adjust my fan mounts in different cases is depending on how much airflow I think the fan is actually going to get. Now, in this case, it's a huge Phantom 820, and it's got about 2 or 3 inch foot on the bottom of it. And in addition to that, even past that, there's a gap between the air filter and the power supply. The power supply itself is on these little standoffs at the bottom, so there's huge amounts of airflow to the bottom of the power supply here. So I'm quite happy to have the power supply this way up. Whereas when there's a very small gap underneath the case, or the case is not filtered, or otherwise I don't think the power supply is going to get very good airflow, I will turn the power supply over fan side up, so it's drawing from inside the case. I really don't think there's a penalty for doing that. However, people routinely bash me for it, so just explaining my methodology there, really I think both options are completely valid. So do whatever suits your build. Right, I'm going to deliberately leave one of these PCI Express leads tied up at the back here because I don't know how much power the graphics card is going to need yet. I know we've got a 1080 Ti going into this, but we don't have the card yet. So I'm leaving it back there. We may or may not need it. That's got a dual connector on it, but it won't surprise me in the slightest if the 1080 Ti requires 3 connectors. Always nice to see drive cages with a genuinely toolless design to them. So in this case we've got these pins that stick into the side, so the drive goes into this plastic cage with no screws in it at all, no tools required. Time for some obnoxious memory modules. Let's crack this bad boy open. Oh yes. Oh yes. Look at those. Ludicrous speed. It's finally time to fit the graphics card to this computer. We've been waiting weeks for this thing to arrive. It's a Gigabyte Aorus GTX 1080 Ti Extreme Edition 11G, which is a long name. It's got 11 gigs of VRAM in it, and it's 200 MHz over the stock 1080 speeds. Finally, the build is now finished. We've paired this up with a pair of 4K 27-inch monitors, a Corsair K95 keyboard, a Corsair Scimitar mouse, and a host of other gadgets to go with it. I hope you enjoyed this build. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you all next time. Goodbye for now.